Okay, attribute analysis. I'm using a somewhat modified version of the spreadsheet for the subjective analysis, perceptual analysis. It looks sort of substantially the same over here, but there's another table over here and the graphs in the same place. So we'll have a zoom in and have a look, see what we've got. Okay, so zooming in up to the area where we enter the information about the products. That's the same title for the map. In this case we're doing yogurts. Then high protein, low protein, higher energy, lower energy. Now the difference is you don't enter the information in this part of the table. If you click on that, you'll see it's a cell reference, and it's a cell reference over here. So for example, if I change that to Sainsbury's Greek 1, give it a tick, it'll change to Sainsbury's Greek 1 over there. There's a reason for that, and that's for when we transfer this information over there. They're also cell references. Now I'll do a Control Z to take that back to where it was before. Right, okay. So as I mentioned, these two are calculated ones. So what we do is we have this table over here. I've color coded it just to break it up a bit. You can color code it yourself based on different categories, and I've also done some conditional formatting here, which I'll talk about in a second. I put the protein values and the energy values in, taken directly from the labeling information. So this is objective data compared to subjective data we looked at in the last video. And then he does a little calculation, and a couple of calculations just based on normalizing the data around what the maximum is, 9 units as we saw in the previous one, and then this is the data which transfers over here. So you don't want to edit this, it will calculate itself automatically, so you don't want to mess with that at all. And I mentioned I've done this as conditional formatting. What that means is that it's just a visual way of, if you haven't come across this before, it's quite a useful visual way of seeing what information looks like. So you go to conditional formatting from the top menu, click on color scales, and I've set it to red means high and green means low, and that's all there is to it. There's several other options you can use as well. Right, okay, so the sizes over there as well, which are just numbers, and we'll come back to them again later. And we scroll down, we see there's a couple of issues with this. One is that there's some anomalous ones over here which aren't actually real data. If you click up there, it is just blank lines. We'll come back to that a bit later on. But we've also got some actual data which is just on the edge of the screen. So we need to do a little bit of adjustment to this graph to fix that. Okay, so here's one I prepared earlier. I've made some adjustments. Now what I've done is I've changed the axes on this. So if you right click on the horizontal axis, which is in the middle, not at the bottom, it's confused me slightly till I figured it out. Click on format axis. We'll notice I've set it from a minimum of -1 to a maximum 11, whereas previously it was from 0 to 10. I've done that similarly for the vertical axis as well. Format axis -1 to 11. Right, so that leaves this group down here, which aren't really doing anything. And what it is this information down here. So all I'm going to do is just delete it, and that should disappear, and it does disappear. Right, okay, so we'll go through and have a look at an example of adding information to the spreadsheet to make sure we're all on the same page. Right, so we're going to start off up here. So I'll pause the video slightly while I just type in the information. There's no point in you watching me typing. Right, so I've entered the data in the normal way. So yogurts, we got, in this case, high protein to low protein, and higher energy to lower energy. So now what we want to do is copy the information we already have, put another graph over there, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, into this table. Okay, it's been a little bit difficult. Right, so this is where our information is. So I'm just going to copy all of that. Right click to copy, move it out the way, and then I'm going to paste in a way which will not destroy any of this formatting. So I'm going to go to paste, paste values and number format, and you see it looks okay. Right, so it adds them in, and we've noticed it's added them in over here as well. Right, so I'm going to do the same for the protein. Copy, paste that in the same way. And we see it does a calculation and starts to add numbers. Now we just need to add the energy, which I'm just going to copy off the screen. Copy, go over here and paste. Right, so it's done the calculation, it's put all the information over here, and down here it has added the information to the actual attributes map. Now, I mentioned before that when you copy stuff, you might want to copy stuff in a way which will allow you to edit it. But the other thing we can do here is change these sizes. Now, notice down here, I also need to again get rid of all this stuff. So I'm just going to delete all of that. Right, and that disappears. Right, so a little zoom in, have a look at what we've got in the graph. Shooting around quite a lot. Right, so for example, we've got a couple down here. Let's just have a look, see what they are. So we've got Arla Protein Blueberry and Arla Protein Strawberry there. So let's move them out the way temporarily. And what I'm going to do is going to change the size of these two circles. So I'm going to change them both to 1 and 1. Now to 1, and we'll sound now they become smaller. I guess in principle, I've not tried this. We could make one of them 0, 1, 0.1. No, it can only be a number. It can only be a whole number. Okay, that's a bit of a pity, but that's fine. Right, as I mentioned, when you copy, right-click to copy, and then you can copy as either as an image or copy to something you can edit. So you can do the sort of things that I did there when I moved labels around. Right, okay. One last thing which is on this spreadsheet, which is something I'm thinking about, which is these are just radar charts. I'm looking at a way to get them a summary of the information into radar charts, so we can compare high and low protein against high and low fat in a different way as well. But I'll probably come back to that a little bit later on. Okay, thanks for listening. This will be posted with the other material, both on Blackboard and in various other places.